Thanks so much for joining us. We're so excited to hear from you about everything going on today. We have so much to talk about. I'm joined today with Cheryl Preheim and Jennifer Bellamy, and we have got some good talkers today.
We've got great talkers today.
I know. I'm excited to dive right into this one because as soon as I saw it, it immediately caught my attention. It's a new study that just came out that claims older parents are better parents than younger parents. I mean, when you read that, how does it hit you?
Well, I'm the old lady at the table, so I'm like, yeah, this is great, you know. Listen, I have 4 kids. We talk about this a lot, and they're 9 years from number 1 to number 4. So I feel like I can speak about a decade of different types of parenting. Yeah. And I think there's a pro and con list. There are definitely things that I do now as an older parent that I didn't do then, but I don't know if it's as much about my age versus I'm just not a first-time parent anymore.
So you have more experience.
That's a good point. But I mean, age brings life experience, you know?
Right.
When you're 20, you're going to do life differently than you would if you're 30. You might have more experience with bills or insurance and all of those different things and more knowledge about it. So
that's exactly what the study said. It really is about life experience, and then also they studied impulsivity. So this was a Dutch study, and they looked at 33,000 children with mothers ranging from 16 to 68.
Oh, wow.
That's a big swing.
Yeah.
That's a big swing. But looking at myself, when I was pregnant, I was considered a geriatric pregnancy.
Oh, me too.
Because I was older. So isn't that term just horrible?
it is awful. We should come up with
I was
something
like,
else.
at least cover it up on the
Mature.
folder. I don't need to
A mature pregnancy.
And I mean, that's 35 and older.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, right?
Right, yeah. So I said, if I get pregnant again, am I just going to be a pile of dust? I was gonna say. But I asked this question on my Facebook page to see what people thought about it because we're so curious to hear your opinions on it. And people had really strong thoughts on this one. I want to start with Morgan, who said, absolutely. When you look back at how much you've changed from your early 20s to your 40s, it makes sense for people to wait. You need to develop and know yourself, be happy with yourself before you project that into a child. So that was the point for a lot of people who agreed with her. Then Katie says, good people make good parents, period. Enough of this shaming and comparing bullcrap.
Hey, Katie, I think that's so good because you can like say that this is the best case scenario, but one, you don't always have those options. You might meet a partner later in life. You may be trying to have a child and it might take a long time. We don't always have the options of meticulously planning out our lives like, you know, like you play a chess game or a board game. Right. So you just kind of have to make what works for you work. There are things that I can see that looking back I would do differently. You know, I see like with my first son, you know, I was busier because I was younger and I was at a different point in my career. And now that I'm a little older and I, you know, have another child who's a toddler, I start to realize it's going so fast, so I slow down because I see how fast those first 9 years go. But I don't think there's ever been a day in my life I've done it all perfectly. We're all just doing the best we can at whatever age we are. And the comparison is super dangerous.
I like what she said. That's because, you know, when you say we're all just trying to do the best we can, and really that's what it comes down to. We like to think that nobody's going to do a terrible job parenting their child on purpose. And so when someone's doing the best they can, making the best decision they can with whatever life experience it is that they have at that point in time, you know, that's the best parent you can be then.
Right, and that's a perfect point. What got your attention today?
Okay, so here's something that we've been talking about for quite some time now. We have seen story after story, especially as we're seeing different things like the shooting in Charleston, the shooting that the death rather over in Charlottesville, Virginia. We've seen a long conversation about what to do with Confederate monuments. This is probably coming back up again as we are seeing what happened in El Paso. So Atlanta is taking a stand. They're working out maybe a compromise, if you will. Check this out. This is the Peace Monument, the 1911 Peace Monument. That's out in Piedmont Park. And so what Atlanta is doing is they're placing markers near 4 different Confederate monuments to explain and give more context to what the monument is in history. And part of what this monument says is this monument should no longer stand as a memorial to white brotherhood. Rather, it should be seen as an artifact representing a shared history in which millions of Americans were denied civil and human rights.
It's interesting because the state says you can't just take them down.
Exactly.
So this is the city's thought about a compromise. So saying if they are going to be in public view, let's at least give some context to the history so that that is represented as well and you can understand what is really behind the meaning of that monument.
Yeah. because we've really seen so many states across the South who do have laws like Georgia where you cannot move them, you cannot take them down, and if you do move them, you have to put them in a place that's equally
right. That was going to be
prominent.
my point. That if you move them, it has to be in an equally prominent position. And we've had so many discussions over the years about Stone Mountain. That's another monument that people have very strong feelings on. So it's interesting to see how cities, towns, states are grappling with this and how to move it forward.
Exactly. Like you said, we've had a lot of this issue come up here in Georgia. So let's take a look at one of the comments that we got. This one came in from Curtis. He said, the South can't run from its past. That's something we saw from other people too. They said, this is a great idea. Only way to start the healing process is to attack the issue. And honestly, I don't think we're going to see the end of this. Even with this compromise on the table, I still think this is going to be a conversation that continues to come up.
Because a lot of people are going to feel on this issue there should not be a compromise. But education, information, and context, always so critically important. So that at least is part of the conversation now.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, back to school. I know a lot of you maybe have kids going back to school next week. Comment, let me know when they're going to go. But my kids went on Monday. And you know, we think so much about getting the kids ready, but there was a tweet this morning that got my attention about, are our teachers ready and how are they doing and do they need support, because teaching is hard work.
Yes.
And we love you and we need you and thank you for choosing that profession. So I want to show you a tweet that got my thoughts in this direction. Brianna said basically she had a horrible first day. If the rest of this year goes like today, then I'm going to be a one and done teacher. And I wanted to find her and hug her because I can't imagine what that first day is like. I have a lot of friends that are teachers and they always say the first year is the hardest year. But then what really got my attention after that is there was almost 800 comments, and it was like this big swarm of community of teachers that all embraced her and said, don't worry, it's going to get better. Don't give up, because we need teachers. We need teachers desperately. There are 115,000 teachers in Georgia already. Thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thank you.
But we always need more, so basically don't quit. So I wanted to share some of the comments encouraging her because that really got my attention. This is a community of teachers. So John says, 12 years with middle school and now 4 years at the university. I still have days like this. Teaching is hard. Owning your mistakes is even harder. Showing yourself grace is even harder still. Ultimately, students need humble, reflective teachers, which sounds like you are, because you could tell by her tweet she wants it to be great.
Yes, right.
And you guys, it was so interesting because the thing that stuck out, so I started reading like what made that so hard on her, and she said, I could not even get them to stop talking.
Oh,
it's seventh graders. She couldn't get them to stop talking, so she felt like she couldn't even start to do her job.
Right, because you feel ineffective when you can't communicate your message. And my sister is a teacher. I love teachers. I'm so thankful for everything they do. But the stories she tells me about how difficult it is really make my heart break for her sometimes, because people get into that profession because they love children and they want to help. These are helpers.
Yeah.
And to not be able to do your job effectively has got to be so frustrating. So I love that so many people were in there supporting her and really encouraging her, saying it does get better with more experience, and I'm sure more classrooms. You get a little bit better at it.
Yeah, and it's the first day. Kids are rowdy. They're back in class. They've been away from each other all summer long. So that's a little natural too. But I think this is a great opportunity for this teacher to learn the lesson too. That, you know, you don't give up. Things are always having the, things always have the opportunity to get better, you know?
And I was like, good on you for being a middle school teacher, because middle school is that time that there's not enough money in the bank to send me back to middle school.
Yeah, me either.
I was the awkward 5'11", grew way too fast, like just a mess. And it was such an awkward, hard time. And I thought, what an important time, because that's really such a crossroads for a lot of kids. Like they're learning, they're growing up. It's like this intersection of life, and they need like great role models in that time. But I think that would be a really difficult time to be a teacher too. So I applaud her for choosing 7th grade. So Penny is another teacher that fired in with another comment that I thought was so great. There is an enormous web of support here. Teachers in Georgia who are trying to get better. We are here to help you. We've all had days that make us want to quit, but there are enormous rewards when you stay. So she's sending love. Because you can impact, you can impact a child's life. We have a friend of ours, a producer in the newsroom. He said, hey, I was the class clown. I was the troublemaker in middle school. And he's like the greatest talented young man, and you're like so glad he had teachers around him during that time and didn't give up on him either.
This kind of reminds me of what we were talking about earlier with the parents. You know, you can't compare, you know, your first year you go through all this preparation, all this schoolwork to get to this point, and it doesn't matter, you know, the experience. Everyone's going to have a tough time at some point in time along the way, along the year.
I want people to comment on this too, because the reality is teachers need more support. They don't make a lot of money. They don't even have all the resources they need, like pencils, papers. Their kids come hungry. There's a lot of issues. It's not a perfect system. It's very hard. I'd love to know what kind of support you need, what helps you the most, your thoughts about classrooms. I just think it's such an important conversation. One more comment I want to share here as a veteran teacher, Josh fired in. I've been doing this for 17 years. We all suck from time to time. Anyone who tells you differently is lying. The first year is the hardest by far. One day you'll look back and smile at how far you've come, and you'll smile, I think, and look back at how many lives you've touched. Even though it was not a perfect system, it isn't always easy, but
and it's the long game. I think that teachers, the difference that they're making, they don't get to necessarily see that every single day, but years from now, I still remember the outfit my fourth grade teacher wore on the best day I ever had in school. I remember everything about her. And so the difference that they're making is indescribable.
Yeah. And that's what they always say, you know, about nobody remembers who was Miss America whatever year. You remember those teachers that were in your lives that made a difference for you. And I'd really love to hear what she has to say a week later, a month later, at the end of the year. I bet it's all going to be completely different.
Yeah, we might have to just go meet her.
We need to. That'll be great.
But congratulations on making it to your first year.
And through the first day.
Yeah, and I love this community of teachers. Thank you, everybody. So keep the comments coming in all the conversations we've had today. You really round out the conversation for us, so keep commenting below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. We'll be back the same time tomorrow with many more stories, so you don't want to miss out. Hope you all have a great day.